It's nice down there lower, like it's so wide, you can go anywhere. Nice skiing.
You forget how fit you have to be a ski racer.
Right?
Very quick.
What'd you think?
It's great ski. It's like, you know, plenty of torsional stiffness so you can hold it right through the turn. It didn't feel like it was shaky at all. And it's so quick. Like you can just get in and out of the turn so easily. So yeah, it's really
Yeah, they
fun.
definitely up the quickness factor.
Yeah. Great turn radius too. Like I was having fun just kind of seeing how far I could bring it across the hill.
It's a very rewarding ski.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take like that much work to get there either.
No. No, it's easy to ski.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
This is a pretty darn exciting video, Bob. Been waiting a little while to put this one out there. This is a brand new 2023 Kendo 88.
Yeah, we've seen this thing all over the country, haven't we?
At least I have.
Yeah.
So if you follow our channel or if you follow us on social media in particular, you probably know that I was out in Sun Valley, gosh, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago now. A big purpose of that trip was checking out this new Kendo 88.
Yeah, and it's funny, I think that their idea of the big firm groomers for this ski kind of mixed with what you got, didn't it?
Yeah, totally. So Bob and I were joking this morning. Apparently, if you wanted to ski a lot, just buy a Kendo 88. Or if you wanted to snow a lot,
yeah.
excuse me, just buy a Kendo 88. Because we had a ton of snow out in Sun Valley. And then Bob, we skied it this morning. And this is easily the most natural snow that we've had at Stowe all year.
Yeah, pretty fun to, test out. But, you got to have an all-mountain ski in different conditions.
Totally.
You know, if you want something that's going to do everything, it's got to perform well in soft snow. So, you know, we can get to that in a minute, but it's very interesting that, you know, when we want to try out fat skis, it never snows, but if we want to try out the on-trail performance of a Kendo 88, we get fresh and soft snow.
Luckily, there was still some firm stuff under there for you to test out its torsional stiffness and stuff like that. I got to do a ton of that stuff out in Sun Valley. So yeah, I had quite a bit of time on this ski so far. And before we really dive into performance, let's take a look at some of the changes to the ski. If you follow our channel, if you watch our reviews, if you've seen the M6 Mantra review, which I think was about a year ago, you're going to be familiar with a lot of this technology. Maybe you guys anticipated some of that technology kind of trickling into the Kendo. We certainly did, and it's exciting to see it in person now. I should add, before we get into the nitty-gritty details, there's also a new Kenja, so the women's version of the Kendo. Same changes are applied to that Kenja, which is awesome. Had plenty of people skiing the Kenja when we were out in Sun Valley. And then there's also a new Mantra 102. A couple other skis that are new for them too, which we'll talk about another time. But basically all of these pieces, all these elements, all these pieces of technology are seen also in that Kenja and the Mantra 102. So first up, this is the new ski right here. That's a 2022 Kendo right there. I think the most noticeable thing when you look at them is the new Titanal frame. And this ski gets tailored Titanal frame like the M6 Mantra. So they're basically taking some of the mass out of the metal frame, specifically in the tip and tail portions of the ski, so you can kind of see where the metal gets a little narrower, and then it's thicker as you kind of reach the binding. So the closer to your feet, you get that kind of similar thickness metal to on the original design, we'll say. Now, what's tailored about that is that essentially this portion stays about the same for each length, which means that this portion where the metal is kind of wider and thicker, the longer the length that you get, the longer that metal is going to be. So we only have a 184 here as an example, but if you could look at it next to a 177 and a 170, you would see a shorter portion of this wider, thicker metal.
Yeah, and we found that basically just makes it more sophisticated in the feel, whereas this is, just the same thickness all the way around. You know, that way is just more specific to both, like you said, the length and kind of the way that the ski is supposed to feel. So I think the sophistication aspect is noteworthy.
It also brings swing weight down pretty noticeably. There's not a huge difference in weight between that ski and this ski. I think it's less than 100 grams. This is lighter, but I think it feels lighter than that in comparison when you ski it. And then the other piece of technology, there's actually one more that I'm going to talk about, and then something that doesn't really get talked about very much, this tailored carbon tip. So basically, because they're taking mass out of the ski up here, because they're removing some of that metal, they wanted to retain torsional stiffness, so they gave it this really cool, specifically engineered grid or web of carbon. And I would say, if anything, it's improved torsional stiffness. Even though there's less metal in the tip of the ski, the way that this thing engages, the way that it hooks up is lightning quick. And I think you get a little bit more precision and a little bit more energy out of it.
Yeah, and that's borrowed from the Deacon V-Works, which is now in the Deacon 76 master ski. So, that's technology that's borrowed from the more on-piste skis. And, it works that it's in this as well as the Mantra models as well. But I think it's especially effective, in the narrower models.
Yeah, no, and I think it works really good in this Kendo. That was something that we kind of all noticed in skiing it. And then this might not be as technologically advanced, but they dropped 1 meter out of the center radius of the ski. So these use 3D radius. So this 184 has a, 31 meter radius in the tip, 17 underfoot, and then 26 in the tail. So that 17 meter radius in this ski is dropping down 1 from 18 in the previous ski. That 177 in 2022 had a 17-meter turn radius. Now it's a 16-meter turn radius.
I think that stuck out to me a lot. You know, in addition to the construction changes.
Totally.
That shaping change really kind of, for me, made this ski feel a lot more energetic and lively.
I agree. And I think really what we're feeling is a combination of all the elements. And I do think that, I don't think you're wrong by any sense of the word. But yeah, I think, you get more precision up here when you're entering your turn. Just the turn entry is smoother and easier, and it allows you to kind of get to that shorter turn radius underfoot more easily, and then benefit from it when you're there. The other thing that I kind of briefly mentioned that doesn't get talked about a lot on these skis, you don't really see it in any of Volkl's marketing. The metal plate underfoot is different. So it's kind of borrowed from the Blaze, or at least feels like it is. It's going to be really hard to see on camera, but basically in this new ski, in the metal plate underfoot, there's a little bit of a slit right in front of and behind your binding. So when you put a slit in the metal, we've seen that from other manufacturers. We've had that conversation. It allows the ski to articulate more. And then there's a little gap. So we're seeing a little bit of a gap in between the Titanal frame and the metal layer underfoot, which again, I think is allowing for a little bit more ease of use or less torsional stiffness right here in this portion of the ski. And talking to Anya, who's one of Volkl's high-level engineers, that is by design, and they kind of wanted to take a little torsional stiffness out of the ski right here, and you add all these things up, and it just feels like the ski is just more refined and with a bigger sweet spot. Yeah,
and this one, that metal overlapped more.
Yeah,
and you can even tell there's just maybe a finger width gap here, whereas over there it's a good inch or a couple centimeters of a gap between the metal, between each metal part of the frame.
Yep. So those are the differences. I'd say rocker profile shape is pretty darn similar. We do see that change in in turn radius underfoot. But aside from that, the shapes are very similar. I think when you see that ski next to this ski, clearly they're the same thing, or at least they're under the same title, just different versions of each other. But Bob, I've skied it more than you at this point, but you had some great runs on it so far. So in general, starting with kind of groomer performance and how it makes a turn, what do you think about this new ski?
Initiation, accessibility, and the finish to the turn were my big three things that I found were a step above this. We were kind of talking earlier, and I said that this was a leap beyond the previous Kendo. That's a step. It's more refined, but it's not like a totally different thing. This, I was really amazed at the amount of energy that you got out of it. That, I'm amazed at the same thing, but it's easier to get to. Totally. The difference in that metal frame, the meter drop, the precision in the tip, getting it to hook up. I think all of those things, like you said, kind of work in unison to get this thing to really make these nice, clean, round turns. Kind of like a slalom kick to the end.
We got some energy and snap out of it for sure.
Normally, when you're skiing these soft pack powder groomers like we were on today, the ski has the tendency to kind of just push through gently, and this one you could really feel the whole ski engage, and I think getting the whole thing to flex is one of the best parts. That it's not just a stiff plank. That was my big knock against the previous version, is that I found it to be planky. Whereas this feels very alive, very much willing to engage and respond to your input. So zero complaints from me. Obviously it's easy to love a ski on groom pack powder conditions, but you can tell a difference when you ski, as many different skis as we do, what that's going to look like, when the conditions get a little bit more normal for what we do on a daily basis here in Vermont.
Sure. Yeah, and that pretty much echoes my feelings on it too. Something that keeps coming up to me, the very first run I had on these in Sun Valley, and I was on the 177. This is the 184. Like I said, I did start on the 177, but I've skied both now quite a bit. Our very first run, we had a big group of skiers, and I feel like it's very common in those situations to be like, all right, you guys want to just take a warm-up run?
Yep.
And everyone was like, yeah, let's just take a warm-up run. And we skied probably like the most mellow pitched groomer at Sun Valley. They don't have very many like flat trails.
Right.
It's pretty good pitch across the board there. But we skied a trail that was relatively flat. I don't have any footage of it because it was our first run. I was kind of kept the camera in my pocket. But I'll even admit that going into that run, I was kind of thinking like, well, this is going to be a waste of my time, or like this is going to be kind of boring. Because I've felt in past that the kendo is the type of ski that does require some speed to come alive. You at least, you want something to push against and some pitch to kind of get the ski going. And within like 2 turns on the 177 in this ski, I was like giggling.
Right.
I mean, I was also following Gordy Megros, who's a phenomenal skier. You saw him at the beginning of this video. And he was, I believe, on the same ski in the same length in that period. And he got it going real quick. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go follow him and do exactly what he's doing. And I thought just the ski's willingness to perform like that on a relatively moderately pitched groomer was really rewarding and something that was harder to achieve on that ski. So I feel like they've made it more responsive and more enjoyable at moderate speeds, comes across the fall line way more easily than the previous ski. Maybe not way more easily, but noticeable. There's a noticeable difference. So I thought that was really cool. And then at the same time, when a company does something like that to a ski, when you make it better at slower speeds, the concern is always like, what happened to the top end?
Right.
And I don't think they took anything away there. We had another fantastic skier out with us, Pete, who was just a charger, and I had him kind of take a 184 and basically like try and push it to its limit, and he never really seemed to find that limit. I did a solo high-speed groomer lap on a 184 too, just kind of skiing like borderline too fast. I wanted to know what it felt like at speed, and I think it still feels really, really good at speed. I think the highlight of this new ski is its just responsiveness, and it's the fun factor when you're not going super fast.
Yeah, and we do talk about that a lot, and I think that's kind of a nice kind of direction that the ski industry as a whole is moving in, is you can still make a ski with that top end performance while kind of lowering the average, access point.
Right. More people can ski this and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I don't
didn't
think
take anything away from the top end.
Right, and I don't think that this thing is too stiff.
No.
When this showed up, flat without the binding for us the other day, we both took a flex at it and said, oh, that's nice.
Right.
It's not like when you're picking up something else that's extremely stiff, and you go ahead and flex it and say, oh, that's going to take either a lot of effort or a lot of speed to get this thing to go. Definitely see the well-rounded, nice, even flex able to be achieved at multiple speed levels with a varying degree of input as well. Like I don't think that it's not meant to be relaxed on and just cruised around, but it can do it.
Right.
So that's the nice thing.
Which is beneficial for an intermediate level skier who might choose this ski. It's not going to like punish you.
Right.
If you're not on it and like driving the front of your boot and being really engaged. There is some willingness in this ski to just relax and cruise.
Yeah, and I think that intermediate skier who's going to be on this does need to understand that there is that precision to it that's going to respond to your input, good or bad.
Yeah, and I think that's I've always thought of this ski as one of the most precise skis in this category. 88, 90 underfoot skis with metal. There's a lot of them, and Volkl has always had that just precision quality. Like, I don't want to say over-engineered because they're not at all, but like the engineering and the technology in this ski, you can tell when you look at it compared to another ski, there's more going on in here.
Yes.
And I think that's something that is synonymous with Volkl as a brand and an important characteristic for them to carry over.
Yep.
It is hands down one of the best in its category on a groomer.
Yep.
The way that it carves, the way that it responds to skier input, the precision and the power that it achieves, it's right up there.
And do you think that that's going to come across, you know, in a negative way in like the moguls or trees? Like, I actually really like this in shorter turns in the moguls more than I thought I was going to.
Yep.
You know, I didn't get on that in the bumps yet, but I feel like the additions will make it fine.
I think that, I'm glad that you said that. I probably have had a harder time on this ski in that terrain than you. Just being lighter and without a competitive mogul background. Like, there are times when I struggle to kind of get the ski to keep up, or rather I keep up. I actually don't know which it is, whether the ski feels slow or whether I can't keep up with the ski. There have been times on a kendo where I have felt like, oh, this is a lot.
Yep.
I still think that there's some of that in this ski. I will not stand here and say like this is the easiest off-piste ski in its width range, in its category, period. Sure. It is not the easiest. For a high-level skier, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah. And
they definitely made it better here. So another thing that I did in Sun Valley, like we ripped plenty of groomers. We had awesome groomer conditions out there. But like I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this video, they had a ton of snow too. I opted for a 184. I wanted a little bit more float. And we went and skied some soft snow runs, some kind of basically powder runs through like open bowls that kind of funneled down into tighter trees. I was tired.
Yeah.
Part of it was that like it was a powder day on a mountain with 3,000 vertical foot runs, so I think I would have been tired on any ski, but I was less tired on this than I would have been on that, and it was noticeable.
Yeah, just letting it able to run a little bit more for you.
Letting it run, and then also the change in the swing weight.
Yep.
I did feel, I do think that is a noticeable difference between this ski and that ski, is when you're in tight trees or when you're in moguls or something like that, and you have to get the ski from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, this is less fatiguing than that. And that's going back to kind of like they didn't drop a ton of weight out of it, but in that application, that's where I really felt it the most, is this ski feels lighter, it feels less forgiving. It does still require like a decent skier. If you're taking it into like steep, tight trees and stuff like that, like you don't want your weight to get in the back seat because there's not much of like a smear factor in this ski. But yeah, if you ski with good technique, this ski appreciates it and rewards it. You know, if you're staying engaged in the front of your boots, specifically speaking to off-piste terrain and off-piste snow conditions, it is a rewarding, good, very capable ski. So, still not the easiest in the world in that scenario, but it's easier than that ski, and they made it more precise. So it fits right in the category where I think it's supposed to fit and where it should fit.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to bring up is the 3D radius, which, you know, it works really well in this ski. You can really vary your turn shapes in an instant. Yeah. You know, like I explored that today, and like through the crud, like we definitely had, you know, a nice smooth run and then not smooth runs. And so when it got not smooth, that's when I wanted to mix it up and be like, okay, I'm going to go from long to short to medium to long and just kind of play with the terrain and the snow conditions and see what's what. And you can really make that thing go from a slalom turn to a GS turn from one subsequent turn to the next. Yeah,
that 3D radius is just so cool.
It works really, really well.
The other thing that it does is the tips and tails are less catchy.
Yep.
You know, so it's not kind of, like I said, it's not the most smeary, slarvy ski in the world, but it's also not going to like just hook up and go when you don't want it to.
Right.
Which is a huge benefit of that 3D radius. Take this shape and take the 3D radius away, and then I think you'd feel it be a little bit more hooky.
Yeah.
Especially in trees and moguls and stuff like that. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool that the way that Volkl can kind of build that into the ski, build some forgiveness into the ski without taking away its precision.
Yeah, just a very nice step up from here.
Yep. So, awesome ski. That's the Kendo 88. We were kind of chatting about it earlier, and you said something like a little bit lighter, more energetic Brahma.
Right.
Something like that, which feels like a great description for it. And that's certainly a ski that it goes right up against in terms of like the powerful and precise skis on firm snow.
Yeah. Yeah, lighter feeling than my Enforcer 88s as well.
Yeah.
So I got a nice direct comparison there to work with.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad that you brought that ski up because that's a ski with a shorter turn radius.
Yep.
And that was something that I specifically last year or testing that generation ski, that was a difference that I felt between the Kendo and the Enforcer. And it used to be a way that we would kind of like split it almost. Like if you want a shorter turn radius, go Enforcer. If you want a longer radius or a ski that's going to make a longer turn, go Kendo.
Yep.
Now I think the Kendo can actually make that shorter radius turn as well.
Yeah, and properly too.
Yeah, no, exactly. So great job, Volkl. Thanks for taking me to Sun Valley. That was cool too. Let us know if you have more skis and you want us to come to Sun Valley to test them, because be happy to make the trip again. Let us know if you have any questions about it. As usual, we just threw out a couple skis, but I'm sure there are others that people would be interested in comparing it against.
Yeah, definitely a good category.
Yep. So let us know. It'll be fun to get on the Montreux 102. I skied that quite a bit out in Sun Valley, and that ski is still a tank.
It's a blast.
But like some of the things that we described about this ski and accessibility and user friendliness does kind of carry over to that ski. So it's still just like a missile when you want it to be, but it's like a more easily controllable missile.
Yeah, the thing is unflinching.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Kendo 88. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys out there on the hill.
Bye.